Have you ever wondered why the nicer you are, the more people take advantage of you? The more you give, the less they respect you. Today, let me tell you a hard truth. Being too nice doesn't bring love. It brings users. And if you don't wake up, you'll spend your life in fake relationships, surrounded by people who don't truly care about you. People love what they can use, not what they can respect. This is one of the harshest realities of life that most people refuse to accept. We are raised to believe that if we are kind, if we are always available, if we never say no, then people will love us. But the truth is, the more you allow yourself to be used, the less you are valued. Look at your own life. Think about the people you have given your time, energy, and love to without limits. Did they appreciate it, or did they start expecting it? Did they respect you for your kindness, or did they begin to take it for granted? Because that's how the world works. Whatever is freely available loses its value. Imagine a person who always lends money to a friend in need, never asking for anything in return. At first, that friend seems grateful, thankful, but over time they stop saying thank you. They stop feeling the need to even explain why they need the money. And one day, when this generous person finally says, "I can't help you this time," that so-called friend disappears. Was it ever about the friendship? No. It was about the benefit. The moment you are no longer useful, you see people's true colors. Have you ever noticed that when you are doing well, when you are giving, when you are always there for others, your phone is always ringing? People remember you. They invite you. They want your time, your advice, your energy. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop giving so much, the moment you need something, those same people vanish. Why? Because for them, you were never a person. You were a source of benefits. A woman who always listens to everyone's problems, who is always available for her friends, always picking up their calls at midnight, always rushing to help, will eventually realize something painful. The day she needs someone to listen to her, nobody has the time. Why? Because she has trained them to see her as a giver, not as someone who also needs support. She thought her kindness would make them love her, but in reality, it only made them expect her. A hardworking employee who stays late at work, who never says no, who takes on extra tasks without complaining, might believe that their boss will appreciate their efforts. But what happens instead? The boss gives them even more work. The promotion goes to someone else. Because they have proven that they will work hard without rewards, without asking for anything. They are useful, not respected. It is the same in relationships. A woman who always forgives, who always tolerates disrespect, who never demands better treatment, will one day realize that love is not the same as respect. She might love him with all her heart, but if he knows that no matter what he does, she will stay, then he will never truly value her. Because love given too easily is taken for granted. Think of the free things in life, the air we breathe, the water that flows in rivers, the sunlight. We never stop to appreciate them. They are given to us without effort, so we do not think of them as valuable. But the moment you have to buy bottled water, the moment you have to pay for clean air, suddenly you respect it. In every area of life, this rule applies. People do not value what is easy, what is always available, what they do not have to work for. They value what is rare, what they have to earn, what they fear losing. A person who shares their secrets too easily, who is too open, too available, might believe they're building deep connections, but in reality, people only respect what is mysterious, what is not so easily revealed. When you keep something to yourself, when you have standards, when you make people work to earn your trust, then they respect it. In a family, there is always that one person who does everything, who takes care of everyone, who sacrifices their own happiness, who puts everyone else first. And yet, that person is often the one who is least appreciated. They are expected to do it because they always have. Nobody stops to say thank you. But the one family member who rarely helps, the one who only visits once in a while, when they do something small, suddenly everyone is grateful. Why? Because what is rare is valued more than what is constant. People will not respect you unless they know they can lose you. If you are always available, if you never demand better treatment, if you keep giving and giving without asking for anything in return, then people will continue to use you. It is not because they are bad, it is because you have allowed them to see you as a resource, not as a human being. This is why you must set boundaries. Not to be cruel, not to push people away, but to make sure that the love, the kindness, the energy you give is respected. When people have to earn your time, they value it. When they know that your kindness is not a weakness but a choice, they respect it. When they realize that they cannot use you without consequences, they think twice before taking you for granted. People do not love what they can easily have. They love what they fear losing. They do not respect what is always available. They respect what is given with intention. So ask yourself, are you being loved or are you just being used? Are you being respected or are you simply convenient? Nice people attract takers, not givers. This is a hard truth that many refuse to see because they want to believe that kindness will be rewarded with kindness. They want to believe that if they give their best to others, others will do the same for them. But the world does not work like that. The more you give without limits, the more you attract people who only know how to take. Look at the people in your life. Who always calls you when they need something? Who always reaches out when they have a problem, but never when you have one? Who disappears the moment you stop being useful? These are takers. And they will drain you until there is nothing left. A man who always lends money to his friends, thinking they will do the same for him one day, soon realizes something painful. The day he asks for help, nobody picks up the phone. They always had excuses, but when they needed him, he was always there. He believed his generosity would create a bond, but all it did was attract people who saw him as a walking ATM. A woman who always says yes to her partner's demands, always adjusting, always compromising, believes that this will make the relationship stronger. But the more she gives, the more he takes. He stops appreciating her efforts because they are constant, expected. And one day, when she finally asks for something in return, he calls her needy or demanding. Not because she is wrong, but because she broke the pattern. She was supposed to give, not ask. In the workplace, there is always that one employee who goes beyond their duties. They take on extra work, help their colleagues, stay late without complaining. They think this will earn them respect, maybe even a promotion. But what happens instead? They become the go-to person for every difficult task, while others do the bare minimum and still get ahead. Because takers do not reward effort, they exploit it. A student in a group project does most of the work because they want the whole team to succeed, but when the grades are handed out, the others take equal credit. No thank you, no recognition, just the assumption that it was their job to carry the load. The next time, they decide to step back, to let others contribute equally, and suddenly, the group starts complaining. They are not upset because they have to work. They are upset because their free ride is over. A mother who always sacrifices for her children, never putting herself first, thinks she is doing the right thing. She believes that by always saying yes, she is teaching them love. But over time, they stop seeing her sacrifices. They assume she will always be there, always giving, always saying yes. And one day, when she asks for something, maybe just a little time, a little respect, they act as if she is being unreasonable because she trained them to be takers, and takers do not like being asked to give. The more you give without limits, the more you train people to expect it. The more you say yes, the more they assume you will never say no. And when you finally do, when you finally stand up for yourself, they call you selfish. Not because you are, but because you stop being convenient. A man who always helps his friends move, who always gives them rides, who always listens to their problems, might believe that they will do the same for him. But when he finally needs help, there are excuses. I'm busy, I wish I could, maybe next time. He starts to wonder, were they ever really friends, or was he just useful? A girl who always supports her friend, always cheering her on, always making sure she feels good about herself. Notice there's something strange. The day she achieves something, the friend is silent. No support, no encouragement. Because takers do not celebrate givers. They fear them. They do not want to see the person they depend on rising above them. They only want them to remain in a role of service. Takers will never stop taking. It is not in their nature to give back. They do not feel gratitude the way givers do. They do not feel obligation the way givers do. They take because they can. They take because they have learnt that someone else will always carry the burden. Think about the most successful people. Do they spend all their energy pleasing others, or do they set boundaries? Do they allow others to drain them, or do they surround themselves with people who also give? If you're a giver, you must be careful. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. Not everyone who thanks you appreciates you. Some people are only there for what you can do for them. And the moment you stop, they disappear. If you are always helping, always giving, always sacrificing, ask yourself, who is doing the same for you? Who is making sure you are okay? If the answer is no one, then it is time to realize that your kindness is not attracting kindness in return. It is attracting takers who do not see your value, only your usefulness. The more you agree, the more you are ignored. This is the reality most people fail to recognize. They believe that being agreeable will make them more likable, more respected, and more included. But the truth is, the more you say yes, the less people notice you. The more you conform, the less people value your voice. A man in the workplace agrees with every decision his boss makes. He never challenges an idea, never offers a different perspective, never speaks up when something feels wrong. At first, people appreciate his cooperation, but over time, they stop asking for his opinion. They stop considering him for leadership roles. Why? Because he's become invisible. He has blended into the background of people who follow, not those who lead. His silence has taught them that his voice does not matter. A woman in a relationship always agrees with her partner. She changes her plans to match his, eats what he likes, watches what he enjoys, and never disagrees, believing this will keep him happy. But instead of appreciating her, he starts taking her for granted. He stops asking what she wants. He stops considering her needs. He assumes she has none because she never speaks up. And one day, when she finally expresses herself, he says, "You've changed." Not because she has, but because he never truly knew her. A student in class agrees with everything the teacher says, never questioning, never debating. The teacher praises the students who challenge ideas, the ones who think critically, the ones who dare to say, "I see it differently." But the agreeable student, they are just another face in the crowd, another silent follower. When it comes time for recommendations or opportunities, the teacher remembers those who stood out, not those who blended in. A friend in a group always agrees with what everyone else wants to do. They never pick the restaurant, never choose the movie, never express their preferences. At first, the group enjoys the ease of having someone who goes along with everything. But over time, they stop inviting this friend to decision-making conversations. They stop considering their presence essential. Because someone who always agrees is not someone who challenges, excites, or brings new energy. They are just there, like background noise. A mother, always accommodating her children, never says no. She sacrifices, she adjusts, she agrees with whatever they want. She believes this will make them love her more. But instead, they start seeing her as someone who exists only to serve them. They stop asking what she wants, stop considering her feelings. When she finally says, "I can't do this," they are shocked. Because she trained them to expect agreement, not boundaries. People respect those who have a voice. They are drawn to those who stand their ground. The ones who say, "I don't agree. I see it differently. I have another idea." These are the people who are noticed. These are the people who influence decisions, who create impact, who leave a mark. A man dating a woman who always agrees with him may enjoy it at first. It feels easy. But over time, he realizes there is no depth, no challenge, no excitement. She is predictable, passive, just a reflection of his own thoughts. He starts losing interest, looking for someone who can surprise him, challenge him, engage him. Agreement does not build attraction, contrast does. An entrepreneur presents an idea to investors. If they only say yes, whatever you think is best, they will not gain respect. Investors want to hear, "This is why I believe in my vision. This is why I disagree with that approach. This is what I know will work." Confidence in one's own perspective is what earns trust, not blind agreement. A leader in any space, business, politics, even social circles, is never the one who simply agrees. They are the ones who dare to say, "No, I see a better way." They are the ones who challenge the norm, push boundaries, create change. History does not remember the agreeable. It remembers the ones who stood for something, even when it was unpopular. Being agreeable might make you temporarily liked, but it will never make you respected. It might keep the peace, but it will never give you power. If you always agree, people will assume you have no ideas of your own. If you always say yes, people will never fear losing you. If you never challenge, people will never consider you important. The more you agree, the more you are ignored. Because people do not value what they can predict. They do not admire what they can control. They do not respect what does not stand for itself. Fake relationships thrive on one-sided effort. The moment one person is doing all the work, all the calling, all the texting, all the planning, all the fixing, understand this, that relationship is not real. It is just an illusion. It is a performance where one person is acting as the lover, the friend, the partner, and the other is simply receiving, consuming, taking, without ever giving back. Imagine a woman who wakes up early to prepare everything for her partner. She makes sure he is comfortable, remembers his favorite things, always checks in on him, supports his dreams, and prioritizes his needs. But when she is struggling, when she needs someone to listen, when she wants comfort, where is he? Silent, distant, unavailable. She convinces herself that he loves her, that maybe he's just busy, that maybe she's asking for too much. But the truth is, she is in a relationship with a ghost, a presence that exists only when it benefits him. Think of a man who puts all his energy into his friendships. He is always the one reaching out, the one planning the trips, the one making sure everyone is okay. But when he needs help, when he wants someone to check on him, when he stops calling first, no one is there. The invitations stop, the conversations fade. He realizes something painful. He was never really included. He was just useful. Look at the employee who always stays late, always helps others, always takes on extra work without complaint. The boss praises them but never promotes them. Colleagues depend on them but never return the favor. One day, they decide to stop volunteering for extra tasks, to start setting boundaries, to say, no, I can't take this on right now. And suddenly the appreciation turns to irritation. Why? Because their value was never in who they were, but in how much they gave. There are friendships that exist only because one person is willing to be the emotional support system. They listen to the problems, they offer advice, they stay up late comforting the other. But the moment they have problems of their own, the other person is too busy, too tired, too distracted. They were not in a friendship. They were in a one-sided therapy session disguised as a bond. A mother sacrifices everything for her children. She puts them first in all things, never complains, never expresses her own needs. She gives endlessly, believing this is love. But as they grow, they do not respect her. They do not appreciate her. They expect her sacrifices as a given. When she finally asks for something, they act as if she is a burden. She realizes too late that in giving everything, she taught them that she required nothing. One-sided effort is like watering a dead plant. No matter how much love you pour into it, it will never grow because it was never alive to begin with. If a relationship cannot survive without one person carrying all the weight, then it is not a relationship. It is an arrangement, a transaction where one gives and the other takes. A woman keeps forgiving a man who never changes. She believes if she just loves him more, if she just understands him better, if she just proves her worth, he will finally see her value. But no matter how much she tries, he remains the same. Why? Because she is rewarding bad behavior with unconditional acceptance. She is teaching him that he can do nothing and still receive everything. A friend never apologizes, never acknowledges their mistakes. They take offense when confronted. They expect forgiveness without effort. Why? Because they know you will always be the one to fix things. They do not have to try because you do all the work for them. A person in a relationship never makes an effort to see you, never makes plans, never prioritizes you. But when you pull away, suddenly they come running, suddenly they make an effort, not because they love you, but because they miss the comfort of your effort. They do not want you, they want what you provide. The hardest lesson to learn is this: real love, real friendship, real connection does not require convincing, begging or chasing. It does not require you to exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth. The moment you realize that you are the only one trying, step back and see what happens. If they care, they will meet you halfway. If they don't, they will let you go without a second thought. And that will be your answer. If you seek validation, you become a puppet. The moment your worth is placed in the hands of others, you no longer control your own life. You dance when they want you to dance, you shrink when they want you to shrink, and you change yourself to fit the mold they approve of. You become trapped in a cycle where your happiness depends on a nod, a compliment, or a few words of approval. And the worst part? The more you seek validation, the more power you give away. A girl spends hours getting ready, making sure every detail is perfect. Not because she loves the way she looks, but because she needs someone else to confirm it for her. If no one compliments her, she starts doubting herself. If someone criticizes her, she starts questioning her worth. She does not see herself through her own eyes. She only sees a reflection of how others perceive her. A man works tirelessly at his job, not because he loves what he does, but because he wants his boss to notice him. Every time he is praised, he feels alive. Every time he is ignored, he feels invisible. His confidence is no longer in his hands. It is in the hands of someone who barely knows him. Someone who can lift him up or crush him with a single word. A teenager changes their opinions depending on who they are with. Around one group, they laugh at certain jokes. Around another, they pretend to like different music. They mold themselves to fit in, fearing that if they reveal their true self, they will be rejected. In their attempt to belong everywhere, they end up belonging nowhere. A woman in a relationship loses herself. She agrees with her partner's views even when they clash with her own. She follows his interests even when they do not excite her. She bends, she adjusts, she compromises, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear that if she shows who she really is, he will not love her. And so she plays a role, not realizing that love built on performance is not love at all. A content creator online posts videos, but if they do not get enough likes, they delete them. If people criticize them, they change their style. Slowly they stop creating what they love and start creating what pleases others. They are no longer expressing themselves. They are simply chasing applause. A student wants to pursue art, but their parents want them to become a doctor. Afraid of disappointing them, they bury their passion and follow a path that is not their own. Years later, they look in the mirror and realize they are living someone else's dream, not theirs. A friend group laughs at someone behind their back. You know it is wrong, but you laugh along. Why? Because you fear that if you speak up, they will turn on you. You trade your morals for acceptance, not realizing that any friendship that demands you to betray yourself is not a friendship worth keeping. A man loves poetry, but his friends mock it. So he hides it. He laughs at his own passion, pretending it does not matter, but in the silence of his room, he feels empty. He has become a stranger to himself, all because he feared judgment. A woman posts a picture, and the number of likes determines how she feels about herself. 100 likes, she feels beautiful. 10 likes, she feels unworthy. She does not realize that beauty is not measured in numbers and self-worth is not a currency controlled by others. A boy is afraid to say no. Every time someone asks him for a favor, he says yes, even when he does not want to. He fears that if he refuses, people will stop liking him. He does not realize that real respect comes from having boundaries, not from being a doormat. The more you seek validation, the more you lose yourself. When your happiness is dependent on approval, you become easy to control. People can manipulate you with a compliment, break you with an insult, and keep you on a leash without ever lifting a finger. The moment you stop seeking validation, you break the chains. You no longer need permission to be yourself. You no longer need applause to know your worth. You simply exist as you are, and that is enough. Respect does not come from bending over backward to please others. It does not come from saying yes when you want to say no. It does not come from sacrificing yourself just to make someone else comfortable. Respect is born from strength, the strength to stand firm in who you are, to hold your ground, and to refuse to let others dictate your worth. A man in the workplace constantly stays late, takes on extra work, and agrees to every request from his boss and colleagues. He believes that by being overly accommodating, he will earn their respect. But instead, they take advantage of him. They pile on more work, knowing he will never refuse. He becomes exhausted, overworked, and undervalued. Meanwhile, another colleague sets clear boundaries, he does his work efficiently, refuses to be overburdened and speaks up when something is unfair. Who gets more respect? The one who stands his ground. A woman in a relationship constantly sacrifices her needs to keep her partner happy. She agrees with him even when she disagrees, suppresses her feelings to avoid conflict, and prioritizes his happiness over her own. She believes this will make him love and appreciate her more, but what happens? He starts taking her for granted. He knows she will always adjust, always compromise, always put him first. The love she hoped to nurture turns into entitlement. But the woman who speaks her mind, who demands respect, who does not shrink herself for love, she is the one who is valued. A student always tries to fit in. They laugh at jokes they do not find funny, go along with things they do not believe in, and suppress their real personality to be liked. But the more they try to please, the more invisible they become. The moment they start embracing who they truly are, the moment they stop chasing approval, people start noticing them, not as a follower, but as someone with a voice. A businessman negotiates a deal. He lowers his prices, agrees to unfair terms, and bends over backward to keep the client happy. But instead of gaining respect, he loses it. The client sees him as weak, someone who can be easily manipulated. Meanwhile, another businessman stands firm. He knows his worth, refuses to settle for less, and does not allow desperation to drive his decisions. That is the man who commands respect. A mother constantly gives in to her. She says yes, even when she knows she should say no. She allows bad behavior because she fears upsetting her child. But what happens? The child stops respecting her. Meanwhile, the parent who enforces discipline, who sets rules, who is kind yet firm, that parent raises a child who respects them. A woman in a social circle always agrees with everyone to avoid conflict. She nods along even when she disagrees. She keeps her opinions hidden, thinking that if she never upsets anyone, she will be liked. But instead of respect, she gets overlooked. No one values a person who does not stand for anything. But the one who speaks her mind, who has convictions, who is not afraid to be different, she is the one people listen to. An employee asks for a raise, but instead of confidently presenting their case, they hesitate, downplay their contributions, and make it seem like they are lucky just to have a job. Their boss dismisses them. But the one who walks in with confidence, who states their worth, who does not beg but demands with dignity, that is the one who gets the raise. A young girl is always trying to be the nice one. She avoids saying anything that might upset people, even when she is being mistreated. She believes kindness will earn her respect. But instead, she attracts people who use her. Then she meets someone who is kind but firm. Someone who knows when to say no, when to stand up for themselves, when to walk away from disrespect. That is the person people admire. A man is in a group of friends who often make fun of him. He laughs along, hoping that if he takes the jokes well, they will respect him. But instead, the jokes get worse and his position in the group remains weak. One day, he decides he has had enough. He calls them out, lets them know he will not tolerate disrespect, and distances himself from those who do not value him. Suddenly, the tone changes. They either respect him or lose access to him. A leader is loved not because they try to keep everyone happy, but because they stand firm in their principles. They make tough decisions, even when unpopular. They do not change their stance to fit in. People may not always like them, but they respect them. And in the end, respect holds far more power than shallow approval. Kindness is a beautiful thing, but when given without boundaries, it stops being kindness and turns into self-betrayal. A heart that gives endlessly without limits does not receive love in return. It receives exhaustion, disrespect, and manipulation. A woman constantly says yes to everyone around her. At work, she takes on extra tasks even when her plate is already full. In her family, she is the one who solves every problem, who drops everything the moment someone needs help. In friendship, she is always available, always listening, always adjusting. She believes that by being endlessly kind, she will be appreciated. But what happens? People start expecting her kindness instead of valuing it. They do not see her effort. They see a person who will never say no. She loses herself in the process, sacrificing her own needs to keep others comfortable. A man in a relationship keeps forgiving every mistake, every broken promise, every disrespectful act. His partner knows that no matter what they do, he will accept it. He tells himself it is love. He tells himself he is just being kind. But deep down, he feels used, unappreciated, and slowly he loses respect for himself. Love without boundaries is not love. It is a slow erosion of self-worth. The moment he starts enforcing his value, everything changes. A friend always lends money but never gets it back. At first, they believe they are just being helpful, but over time they realize they are being taken advantage of. The moment they say no, the people who once begged them for favors disappear. This is the hard truth. Kindness without boundaries does not build real relationships, it exposes fake ones. A mother wants to be her child's best friend. She does not enforce rules, does not say no, does not set expectation. She thinks this will make her child love her more. But what happens? The child grows up without discipline, without respect, without understanding the value of effort. True kindness is not in giving endlessly, but in knowing when to stop, when to say no, when to teach responsibility. A man at work always covers for his colleagues. When they are late, he takes over their tasks. When they make mistakes, he fixes them. He thinks this will earn their gratitude, but instead they use him. He becomes the go-to person for extra work, not because they appreciate him, but because he does not know how to say no. The moment he starts setting limits, people start respecting his time. A woman in a toxic friendship keeps giving her energy, her time, her emotional support, but receives nothing in return. She believes that if she just gives more, the other person will finally appreciate her. But real friendships are not built on one person constantly giving and the other constantly taking. The moment she sets boundaries, she sees the truth, who stays and respects her, and who only valued her when she was convenient. A young man is always trying to be nice in his social group. He never disagrees, never stands up for himself, always lets others decide what is best. But instead of being appreciated, he is ignored, overlooked, and taken for granted. He realizes that kindness without strength is seen as weakness. The moment he stops betraying himself, the moment he starts valuing his own voice, people begin to respect him. A woman constantly makes excuses for someone who mistreats her. She tells herself they did not mean it, that they are just having a bad day, that if she keeps being kind, they will change. But kindness does not fix people. No one changes because of how much you tolerate. They change when they realize they cannot manipulate you anymore. A worker never asks for a raise, never demands better treatment, never speaks up. He believes that if he just keeps working hard, someone will notice his efforts and reward him. But the world does not reward silent suffering. The moment he speaks up, the moment he values himself enough to set boundaries, he gets what he deserves. A person in a toxic family dynamic keeps giving and giving. They always show up, always help, always put others first. But instead of gratitude, they receive guilt-tripping, manipulation, and blame. The day they decide to put themselves first, the day they enforce boundaries, the entire dynamic shifts. True kindness is not about letting others walk over you. It is about knowing when to step away from those who do not respect you. People are always testing limits, not just in business, not just in relationships, but everywhere. They want to see how much they can take from you before you finally push back. They don't stop taking because they have had enough. They stop when they realize you have nothing left to give. Or when you finally say, no more. A woman in a toxic relationship keeps forgiving the same mistakes. The first time her partner disrespects her, she lets it slide. The second time she tells herself, he didn't mean it. The third time she convinces herself that love means patience. What happens? He does it again and again. Because she has shown him that she will accept it. She has trained him to believe that there are no consequences for hurting her. The day she stops explaining, the day she stops making excuses, the day she chooses herself, that is the day everything changes. At work, a man takes on extra tasks without question. His boss asks him to stay late, he does. His co-workers dump their workload on him, he accepts it. He tells himself that by being helpful, he will be appreciated. But what happens? The more he says yes, the more they ask of him. No one is grateful because no one respects what is freely given without limits. The moment he enforces his time, the moment he stops letting others take advantage, people suddenly realize they cannot push him anymore. A friend always asks for favors. A ride here, a loan there, a problem to solve. At first it seems harmless, but soon it becomes a pattern. The more they take, the more they ask for. Until one day you refuse, and what happens? They disappear. This is the truth. Many people do not test your kindness to appreciate it. They test it to see how much they can get from you without giving anything back. A woman in a family dynamic where she is always the one solving everyone's problems finds herself exhausted. She is the one who picks up the phone in the middle of the night, the one who lends money, the one who sacrifices her own needs for others. She believes that by doing so, she will be loved more. But all that happens is that people expect her to be available, to never say no. The day she stops, the day she puts herself first, she finally sees who truly values her. A man in a social group always pays for dinners, always gives more than he receives. He assumes this will make him liked, make him respected. But the more he gives, the less people appreciate it. They expect it now, until the day he stops. And suddenly, some people vanish, some people complain. That's when he realizes those who were with him for what he gave were never with him for who he was. A worker never negotiates his salary. He accepts the first offer, never asks for a raise, never demands better treatment. What happens? His company keeps giving him the bare minimum. Not because they can't afford to give more, but because he has shown them he will accept less. People in power will always test what they can get away with. They don't stop until you decide your worth. A person in a relationship always compromises. They always give in, always adjust, always make sacrifices. At first, it seems like love, like care, but slowly the other person starts expecting it. There is no balance anymore. One person is always bending and the other is always taking. The day they stop, the day they demand equality, everything shifts. Those who were there just to take will either leave or be forced to change. A student in school always lets people copy their work. It starts small, a quick peek at their homework, a little help on a test. But soon, they are the one doing all the work and others are just taking the credit. Why? Because people always test how much they can take before you stop them. The moment the student refuses, the moment they say, do your own work, they see who actually values them and who is only using them. A kind-hearted person keeps giving chances. They believe in the good in people. They believe in second chances, third chances, endless chances. And what happens? People start treating them as an option, not a priority. They come and go as they please because they know there will always be forgiveness. The day this person stops, the day they finally choose themselves, the entire dynamic shifts. Everywhere you go, in every aspect of life, people are testing the boundaries. Not because they are evil, but because human nature is such that people take what is given until they are forced to stop. If you do not set the limit, someone else will set it for you, and it will always be in their favor. Love that demands sacrifice at the cost of your happiness is not love. It is control wrapped in emotional manipulation. The world has glorified sacrifice as if suffering is proof of devotion. But love was never meant to be a battlefield where one person bleeds while the other flourishes. Love is not about enduring endless pain just to keep someone else happy. It is mutual, or it is nothing at all. A woman bends over backward to make her partner happy. She cancels plans for him, changes her habits, molds herself into his expectations. She thinks this is love. But what does she get in return? Silence when she needs support. Absence when she needs presence. And she keeps giving, hoping one day he will see her worth. But he doesn't. Because when love becomes one-sided sacrifice, it stops being love and turns into servitude. A man in a marriage works tirelessly to provide. Long hours, sleepless nights, always putting his family first. He never complains, never asks for appreciation. He tells himself this is his